Hello there, welcome to 6 for a Band 6 in Standard Mathematics. This will be episode 1 of a series of 6 episodes consisting of 6 main things you should know, and if you do, you're well and truly on your way to a Band 6. There's no guarantees, but just from what I know and where my knowledge extends, this is what I believe there's 6 main components to get that Band 6. Now, I post these generally right before a HSC exam. So the idea behind these videos is not to teach you how to do it, but show you, now that you do know how to do it, how to be more prepared for questions like it in the HSC. So it's not teaching you, I'm assuming you already know it, and I'm extending you and getting you ready. So episode 1 today is on equations, alright? Most common type of equation question is just solving it, generally for a subject, which means it's not a number that you get at the answer. It's in terms of a lot of letters, and it can come up in a lot of different topics, just this skill. So let's have a look. Now, credit goes to this person who made this document, because I found it really good for just some extra practice. So I'm going to work through this. Now, the way I'm going to set this out is I'm going to get you to pause the video, do the question, and then I'll talk through the technique of what you should be careful of or how you should have answered it. So go ahead right now and pause it. Give it a go. Now I'll assume you have pressed play and you have your answer. So let's have a look at what you should get. The way I like to think about this is when it says make Q the subject, you're rearranging for Q equals. So you need to get rid of everything one by one. When you get rid of everything one by one, you need to start with the thing on the furthest part first. So this A is the furthest part away from the Q. It's timesing, so I'm going to take it straight over and do the opposite, which will be divide. Definitely get used to doing divide as a fraction. Cleans things up a lot nicer. Now I've just left, nothing is outside the brackets, so I don't need the brackets anymore. I'm just left with a negative C. So now I just take that to the other side and I plus it. It's not part of the fraction, so be mindful that you leave it like that. Now, just to extend you some more, I'm going to do in green today how this could be made into a multiple choice and how I've seen it asked in multiple choice time and time again, where let's see how else we could display this answer, because they'll say which one of these makes Q the subject. I could put this as one fraction. If I did, C is really over 1. Any number, letter, anything at all that's not a fraction is really just over 1. Now, if I wanted to plus these fractions together and make one fraction, I need the same denominator. To get the same denominator, I need to do this, which you should know this technique. Otherwise, some people do the cross method or butterfly method. But now what I'd be left with is D on A, plussing with AC on A. Now that I do have the same denominator, I can put it all together, which gives me D plus AC all on A. So that is another way of what Q could be, and that would be something they would put as a multiple choice answer, where you would do the work and you'd only end up back here at this side. If it wasn't a multiple choice answer, this is perfect, and you leave it at that, full marks goes to you. But just be mindful of how it can be adapted. Alright, next one. Here. Alright, pause the video, give it a go. This is what you should have ended up with. Now, making something a subject, all you need is that on its own. It doesn't matter if that letter that you need to make the subject of is on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, as long as it's on its own. So let's do a little mind map of how a multiple choice could display this information. It's the same thing as doing M on 5 plus 21 on 5. Just splitting it up, which could be the same thing as a fifth. M plus 5 goes into 21 4 times and 1/5 left over. Again, this is probably less common, but it could be a way that they could adapt it. Okay, well done. Let's keep going. They're getting harder as we go. All right, pause the video. Give this one a go for me. Okay, I'll assume you've done it. This one I want to go through in a bit more depth, just because we need to make P the subject and there's two different P's, which can be a bit confusing. So the first thing I would do is say, I don't like these brackets. I'm going to expand the brackets. Now I'm left with what we call a both sides equation, where there's our letter we need to rearrange for on both sides. So I want to get both of those on the same side of this equation. So I bring the 3p over, it becomes negative 3p. And while I'm at it, I'm going to chuck this negative aq over this side, it become positive aq. Just like that. Now I've got common terms here, like terms. 4p minus 3p, oh, what does that give me? 1p. And there I have it. Another way it could have been done, and I'm just going to show you this as an option because it definitely could work. Instead of expanding the brackets, this 4 is timesing, take it over and divide. Actually, thinking about this now, it's definitely going to make things uglier. Yeah, definitely. Still possible, but now my second p is a fraction. Oh, and I needed to divide this, not times it. Definitely wouldn't suggest just bring the 4 over. If the 4 divided nicely into both of these terms, you would, but this time it's not going to. So, you know, going from here, I'd be looking at something like this. Turn the 2 and 4 into a half. 1 minus 3/4 gives me a quarter p. And then divide through by a quarter, which is the same as timesing by 4, which is then how you do get the answer. But ugly, wouldn't recommend it. Definitely expand if that number doesn't divide nicely. Okay, well done, let's go. Getting uglier. Ooh, I like this one. Pause the video, give it a go. All right, we need to make R the subject. When there's two R's here, the better way to think about it is I need to get one R, right? We don't want two R's in our answer, we just need R equals. So let's put everything that's not an R on one side. So I'm just going to take the 2a to the other side and minus it. Now, what I would do from here is think. I could factorize out an R out of both of these terms. If I do that, I bring an R out the front of the brackets. What's left? So that when I would expand it, I need to get this term again. So I'd be having pi in here plus 2. Now, I am so close, whether you realize it or not. Remember, I've only got one R now. That's my whole goal. I factorized and it got rid of having two R's down to having one R. So factorizing is always a way to eliminate two of your pronumerals into one. Now this pronumeral just needs to be on its own, so I need to get rid of this entire bracket. It's timesing by the entire bracket, so I'm going to take that entire bracket over and divide. So it's not as hard as what you think. So, note to self, factorize when you see 2 here. Alright. Pause the video, give it a go. So the way I took the approach here was to expand it. Again, you didn't have to expand, you could have taken the 2 over straight away and divided, but I expanded, get down to this point. I want A by itself, so throw everything to the other side. Last step is then to just divide. And there we have it. If you didn't expand, you would have had something like this instead. So you would have, instead of expanding, taken the 2 over and divided it straight away. I just put it all over 2, which gives me this. Then I plus the c because it was minusing. Now I'm left with this, which if I don't clean it up, it's going to be really ugly. And if this is multiple choice, there's no way that answer there is one of them. So then it requires some algebraic processes to clean that up. Not too difficult, but it's still taking time. So moral of the story, what we can see so far, most of the time expanding it is the better way to go. Alright, let's go down a bit further. Alright, we've got 2 x's in this question. We need to make x a subject. What rings a bell? Maybe factorize it, but we need all the x's on one side. Pause the video, give it a go. So once you got to this step, it started to get ugly. You go, oh, hang on, I've got x and y here. I've got x. I need x on its own. What do? Put everything with an x on one side, throw everything else on the other side. So I'm going to have 5x, bring this over and plus it. And then throw the 15 over, it becomes positive. Now, I've got all the things with an x on one side. That's my first thing done, tick. Now is where I've got 2 x's here. I need 1x because I just want x equals. So what do? Factorize. Factorize the x out the front. Now think, when I expand it, I need to get back 5x plus 3xy. So what do? I put a 5 here and 3y here. Now, what do we need? X by itself. We're nearly there because x is timesing by this big ugly bracket. So to get rid of that bracket, take it to the other side. Divide. And we are done. See how important the skill of factorizing can be when there's 2 of your pronumerals in there. Ooh, getting better now. Pause the video, give it a go. Alright, we need to make h the subject. First thing I'm saying to myself is, well, the big thing that's covering everything is this square root. I can't get inside of and do anything in here until that square root's gone. So I take the square root to the other side. What's the opposite of square rooting something? It's squaring something. Very common mistake people make is they think that they take the square root to the other side and do the square root. It's not. It's the opposite of square root is squaring. Now we're nearly there. I just need h by itself. 2's the next thing. It's dividing, so I times. And last thing is the 3. It's timesing, so I divide. H is now the subject. They just add a little bit of context to it sometimes. And honestly, it's just to try and distract you from the basic question of what it wants you to do. Alright, give it a go, pause the video. Assuming now you've done it, let's have a look. Really, the only thing I need to make, they want t the subject, alright. The only thing I can do, I can't pull apart this denominator piece by piece. It's one whole denominator. The only option I have is to get rid of that denominator, take it at the other side. When I take it to the other side, what do? I multiply. Now, the t that we need part of the subject is here. There's also a t here. What do? We need everything with a t on one side. And what are we most likely going to have to do? Factorize. So, I can't get into this t to get it over the other side without expanding these brackets. So I'm going to have to expand. yp minus yt. Now, with these, generally you put them in alphabetical order, so I probably should have py, but it doesn't matter, really. But if you were wondering, generally alphabetical order is better. Alright, now, this has got a t, this has got a t, I need them on the same side. 2pt plus yt. Alright, now what do? What's that F word that I love to say? Factorize. Bring the t out. What do we get? 2p plus y. T is nearly on its own, it's timesing, so what do I need to do? I need to divide. And now T is all by itself. Tough question. But looking at that question straight away, that denominator, it's the only thing we can move. It's the only option we have is to get rid of it and times it. So that's what you do. Alright, pause the video, give this one a go. Very similar. Assuming now you've given it a go, what do we have? A lots of B minus 5. We need to make B the subject. It's stuck in this bracket, so what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to expand the bracket out. Now what do I need? I need everything with a B on one side. I'm going to bring it all over to the left-hand side this time, just because it's going to make nicer negatives and positives if I bring it over here. So I get AB plus 7B equals, oh, hang on a second. I've added too many B's in. That should be just 2. 2 plus 5A. B outside of A plus 7. What's that F word? It's factorize. B nearly on its own. Now it is. See, that same skill keeps being tested. It's a very good skill to have. Alright, one more. Oof. Alright, pause video, give it a go. Alright, so this time, and again, you will get the same answer no matter what side you throw everything on, as long as you're doing the right sign when you do take it to the other side. So I've thrown everything over the left and I put my A terms on the right. So now, factorize. So when I factorize this A out, just keep thinking, when I expand it, I need to get back to what this is here. So if you do get stuck on your factorizing step, just keep thinking, well, when I expand, would I get back to what I needed? All right, last step. A to be on its own, we need to take it to the other side. Now we've got A as the subject. Now let's say that you did it the other way, because I guarantee some of you got to, where were we, this step here. And you went PA minus A equals N squared minus PN. Watch how you get the exact same answer. So, you're thinking, no I didn't get the same answer, but if I factorised out a -1 out of the top and out of the bottom, so I factorise out -1, I'd get negative n squared plus pn. Factorise out -1, I get negative p plus 1, and negative 1 cancel each other out. What do I have now? The exact same answer. So if you do get stuck and you put things on the other side, it doesn't matter. It's still the exact same thing. So just only be mindful of that purely because of multiple choice. But if it wasn't multiple choice, no matter which answer of these two you had, it's perfectly right. Now, while this is only a small line in the syllabus, the skill of 1, understanding algebra, 2, being able to solve an equation, and 3, any kind of substitution and rearrange for a subject, those all together come up a lot in a HSC. So it's a really good skill to know how to do. Hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments below if you would like any more resources or if you spot an error.